This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream and Nebula.
So in the movie Ratatouille, there's this scene where the villain, Chef Skinner, tries to pry Linguini for information about the rat. And to do it, he uses one of the oldest and most obvious persuasion tactics in the book. He gets him drunk. And unfortunately for Chef Skinner, this does not work. He wastes the entire bottle of wine and learns basically nothing. So perhaps instead of using alcohol, he should have used one of the more successful and subtle persuasion tactics that have been used for thousands of years to successfully persuade people to buy things, to go along with ideas. So that is what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to go over 5 of the most common and most successful persuasion tactics that you and I and basically everyone else in the world are exposed to on a daily basis. Now, I've been running my own business for 10 years, so I have some personal experience with persuasion tactics, but the insights in this video are going to come from a much more authoritative and thorough source, which is Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. This has long been considered one of the, pun intended, most influential books on the science of persuasion, so it's a great read if you're looking to dig into more detail on this topic. But in this video, we're going to keep it short and sweet. We're going to go over these 5 persuasion tactics, and we're also going to talk about how to defend against them, or at least to realize their influence on you, so when making a decision, you can divorce the merit of the message from the persuasion tactics that are being used. So with all that said, let's get into our first one, which is called commitment and consistency. As human beings, we have this natural tendency to act consistently with our past actions and with what we've said in the past. And this makes perfect sense. We want people to act consistently on an unconscious level so we can trust them. So this is really a good thing at its core, but people can also exploit it. So for example, I just got this sticker in the mail as part of a swag package for an online course that I'm taking. And if you've ever bought an Apple product, you will know that you get an Apple sticker very similar to this one in the box with the phone or the computer that you've bought. And Apple's not putting that sticker in there just because they're trying to be nice, trying to give you something for free. They're hoping that you put that sticker on something you own. I've seen people put it on their cars, on their laptops, on all kinds of stuff, maybe even their baby's forehead, I don't know. But when you put a sticker on something that you own, it's almost the same thing as writing out a statement that I am an Apple person. And when you've made a public commitment like that, you are much more likely to act in accordance with that commitment with your future decisions. This is also why you see a lot of what are called tripwire products. These are products that are very, very cheap. They're very easy sales to make. And what they do is they turn you from being a prospect into a customer. And it's this little commitment you have to make. Maybe it's $1 purchase within an online game like Fortnite or a mobile app or something like that. But it makes this mental shift happen. It changes your self-identity. You go from being a prospect to a customer who is now more likely to make bigger purchases in the future. So the defense here is to realize that when somebody is offering you a small gift or a favor, or there's a free trial or a really, really cheap offer, it is more likely than not going to be something that is designed to get you to make a commitment. And that commitment is going to make you more likely to pay big bucks for their bigger offerings down the line. This doesn't mean you shouldn't take these offerings, but you should keep this in mind when the next pitch comes. The second manipulation tactic we're going to talk about also preys upon one of our natural tendencies, and that is reciprocity. As humans, we have this natural inclination to repay favors or repay small gifts that have been given to us. There's this great book called Debt, The First 5,000 Years by David Graeber, and he argues that basically everyone is always in debt to each other. You do a small favor for me, I do something for you, and it's almost always out of balance. Money actually kind of muddies up the situation because it allows us to sort of wipe out the debt in the ledger, and that can actually allow relationships to be broken up. In pre-money societies, everyone's just kind of lending each other things, borrowing things. Everyone's always in some amount of debt to one another, but we never really know where we all stand. But what we do know is that we should reciprocate when somebody does us a favor or gives us a gift. This is a good thing, but again, it is vulnerable to exploitation by people who have something to sell, by people who want to manipulate our emotions for their own gain. For example, if you've ever gone to a car dealership, you will know that one of the first things they do is offer you free coffee or free water. They are not a coffee shop, but they gladly do it because it results in a lot more profit when it actually comes down to the sale. And the reciprocity principle in our minds is not naturally even. We don't think, oh, I now owe that guy a cup of coffee. We're just going to feel indebted and feel like we should pay them back. So what it's going to make you more likely to do is actually get in a car and take a test drive if they offer one. And if you are ready to buy, you're going to be less likely to negotiate hard when it comes to the price, and more likely to just say yes when they pitch you services like expensive warranties. And because of this, they come out way ahead due to the reciprocity principle. And it should be noted that in the Ratatouille scene, Chef Skinner tries to use this as well, giving him free wine. And it's not inexpensive wine either. It's some pretty great wine. Unfortunately for him, it doesn't work. And hopefully for the next car salesman that you talk to, it doesn't work too well for them as well, because you want to learn how to defend against this. And here's how you do it. Number one, realize that if somebody is offering you a favor or a free gift and it's in a sales or a marketing context, they're probably trying to play on our natural tendency to reciprocate. So be wary of that. And number two, realize that a small gift is often being leveraged to get you to give something much, much bigger in return. Another tactic that you really want to learn how to defend against is the exploitation of social proof. As humans that live in complex societies, we know unconsciously that we often can't rely on our animal instincts or our personal knowledge alone to know what to do in certain situations. So we often look at social cues. We look at what other people are doing to guide our decisions. If you've ever been at a concert and you've looked at where other people are lining up to get in to figure out where you should stand, then you have benefited from social proof. But again, this is a concept that is open to manipulation. You've probably seen commercials with testimonial videos from people who are just like you, but what you often don't see is very small fine print text at the bottom of the screen saying that they are paid actors. And it often goes way further than that. Marketers that don't have an ethical bone in their body will often make up fake testimonials and then just put stock photos right next to them. I know this because as somebody who designed websites for a long time, I often went through stock photo websites trying to find photos for clients. And later on in life, I would see sales pages with stock photos next to their testimonials, and I'd say, hey, I actually recognize that photo. That's from a stock photo website. So people will often straight up lie to try to engage this social proof that we are manipulated by. And even when it's real, you still have to be skeptical. Only happy customers tend to write testimonials, and in many cases, customers can be incentivized to write testimonials. So whenever you're looking at an instance of social proof that's trying to sway your decision making when it comes to a product or an idea or whatever it is, ask yourself, what is the incentive for, number one, this person to say what they've said, and for number two, for me to even be able to see it in the first place? Why was it placed on this sales page? It doesn't mean that the product isn't worth your time, but again, you want to divorce the merit of the message, the actual factors that go into your decision that will affect your life, from the social proof elements. And in many cases, you may want to also seek out dissenting voices, or at least more critical voices, less biased sources, reviews on third-party websites that don't use affiliate links, that kind of thing. And going back to the Ratatouille example, Chef Skinner does use some elements of social proof on Linguini as well here. When he pours the wine, he says you have to be an idiot of elephantine proportions not to enjoy this particular wine, which is mostly using the next tactic we're going to talk about, but it does have some elements of social proof in there as well. I like this wine, everyone likes this wine, you would have to be an idiot not to enjoy this wine. But mostly what he's engaging here is our fourth tactic, which is authority. Now, I live in the United States, and in Western culture, we have this very individualistic nature, and we like to think that we have contempt for authority, and we make our own decisions independently. But the reality often couldn't be further from the truth. We defer to sources of authority all the time and use them to aid our decision making. This happens from the moment we're born. We have to. We have no choice but to defer to our parental figures for not only physical care, but also for, helping us make decisions and stopping us from doing stupid stuff like putting our fingers into outlets. And as adults, we also defer to figures of authority all the time. We defer to our doctor's authority. We trust cooks at restaurants to cook our food to a safe temperature and not ruin it, because none of us is an expert on everything. So we have to put trust in other people to help us live the lives we want to live. But the problem is authority is very easy to exploit because we usually place trust in the symbols of authority, not in the substance. This book has a lot of citations to psychological research and peer-reviewed journals to back up its claims. So there's a lot of authority here. But when we make decisions on a daily basis, we often aren't looking for this substance. Instead, we unconsciously place trust in the symbols of authority, and those are much easier to fake. We place trust in confidence. We place trust in labels. We even place trust in the way people dress. this outfit communicates something that the previous one didn't. So if someone's trying to convince you that they know how to make a lot of money or that they have a lot of business experience, they're probably going to be wearing something like this, maybe even filming their video inside of a Bentley, because that establishes a certain amount of authority. And this effect is even more powerful when it comes to occupation-specific attire. Take, for example, the classic white lab coat. If you've ever seen a commercial for a weight loss supplement, you're almost always going to see a doctor on screen talking about how great that medication is, and they're wearing that lab coat, and it says they're a doctor. And in many cases, yeah, they're a doctor, but they're a doctor with a completely different specialization. Or they maybe have the relevant qualifications to talk about weight loss, but they're being paid to endorse this medication. So how can you defend against implicitly placing trust in figures of authority? Well, it's really twofold. Number one, learn to recognize when the symbols of authority are really doing the heavy lifting and the substance is not. Many times the symbols can be faked, they can be easily gained. Qualifications are easy, putting on a suit is easy, but real authority with real substance, that takes a lot more work. Secondly, even when the authority source is legit, ask yourself, is this person using their authority in my best interest, or are they using it for their own personal gain? From there, you can divorce the authority, again, from the merit of the actual message and make a better decision. Just like Linguini did when he did not reveal any information about Zarat to Skinner. Now, I don't think this was a conscious decision on his part. He was a little tipsy in that scene, but it is absolutely true that Skinner was trying to use authority as part of his manipulation. And this was established from the get-go in the movie. He's got this fancy office with all these symbols of authority in it, and in this interaction, he uses it to imbue the wine that he's offering Linguini with a bit more legitimacy. But really what he's using here is the final tactic that we're going to talk about, which is liking. In this scene, Skinner is trying to get Linguini to like him. He is complimenting him, which is very uncharacteristic for Skinner. He's giving him free wine. He's saying, let's toast to your non-idiocy. Everything he's doing here is an attempt to establish rapport, to establish a relationship, because we are more likely to comply with requests from people that we like. But you have to recognize that likability is another area that is ripe for exploitation. Let's go back to the car dealership example. The moment you walk into that dealership, the car salesman is going to try to get you to like him. He's going to shake your hand. He's going to compliment you. He's going to ask you about your interests. He may just so happen to have the same favorite sports team or same favorite movie that you have. This is all an attempt to get you to like him and to build rapport so you're more likely to buy a car from him. So to defend against this, if you notice that you're starting to like somebody suspiciously quickly in an interaction, especially one where there might be a sale on the line, you need to step back and ask yourself, what are this person's incentives for being so friendly right now? Are they truly interested in my life, or are they just trying to get me to like them so they can close a sale? Now, this can be pushed too far. If you're always wary of everyone, you're going to become a skeptical person, and you might find it hard to make friends and build good relationships. But a healthy dose of skepticism in this context is very, very useful. Now, there is one other huge manipulation tactic that is often used in conjunction with all the others that we've talked about in this video, and that is the principle of scarcity. The less abundant something is, the rarer it is, the more we inherently value it and want it, and marketers love exploiting this. So if you'd like to see some examples of scarcity tactics in action and also learn how to defend against them, you'll find all that in the extended version of this video on Nebula, where that bonus section actually replaces this ad because Nebula is ad-free. We're calling these extended sections Nebula Plus. And you're going to see them in all my new videos going forward. They're places where I can share extra details that come up with the research process, but artificial scarcity can be used to have people make bigger decisions that often have huge financial consequences, or make videos that are just too long for YouTube's algorithm. And that really is what Nebula is all about. It's a streaming service that I built with other creators like Ali Abdal, Whenever Productions, Braincraft, Tierzoo, and lots of others. And it gives us the opportunity to experiment and to try things that just wouldn't work on YouTube or that would get demonetized. And that includes extended versions of videos, yes, but it also includes originals. In fact, a great follow-up to this video and a place where you can start applying what you've learned here is Tom Scott's original game show Money, which creates a great opportunity for some creators that you probably recognize, like Mike Boyd or Sam from Whenever Productions, to try manipulating each other to win some prize money. And what's even better is that we've teamed up with CuriosityStream, which is the go-to resource for the best documentaries on the internet. The team over at CuriosityStream absolutely loves supporting educational content, so we got together and we formed a deal, where when you go to CuriosityStream, use the link in the description down below and you sign up, you get access to Nebula for free. And here's a relatively harmless example of scarcity in action. Right now, CuriosityStream is running a sale for Earth Day, where when you go to curiositystream.com/Thomas, you can get a full year of both CuriosityStream and Nebula for less than $12. That's a whopping 41% off. And once you're in, you're gonna have access to some of the best documentaries on the internet from people like David Attenborough, Sigourney Weaver, and my home's actual patron saint, Nick Offerman. So again, if you use that link down in the description to sign up, you're gonna get a full year of both CuriosityStream and Nebula, all the ad-free videos, extended sections, originals for 41% off. Or you can go over to curiositystream.com/Thomas to get to that same landing page. Doing so is a great way to support both my channel and educational content in general, so if you do, thank you. So to wrap up, I do have one question for you. What is your best real-world example that you've experienced of one of these manipulation tactics in action? Leave your answer down in the comments below, and together we can all learn and become a little bit more perceptive. Beyond that, I've got a playlist of additional videos on decision-making that you can check out right here if you want some extra content to watch. Subscribe there, or do literally none of that and go do anything you want, because as always, I'm not your dad.